Welcome to the Balanced Black Girl Podcast. We're putting Black girl magic in motion. This show is dedicated to reinventing wellness for women of color. I'm your host, Lestrandra Alfred.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's Feel Good Friday episode of the Balanced Black Girl Podcast. So moving forward, these episodes are actually going to be changing a bit. We're going to be refocusing and shifting back to our Tuesday interviews only as our main episodes of the podcast that are released publicly on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher. And moving forward, Feel Good Friday episodes are actually going to be housed within our Patreon. So officially starting June 1st, Balanced Black Girl Podcast is going to be live on Patreon. We've had a lot of people reach out asking how they can support the show, and that is what we're going to be doing moving forward. And to really appreciate those who support the show via our Patreon, we are going to be, after today, moving all of our Feel Good Friday episodes to publish within Patreon as a special thank you. So I know that the Feel Good Friday episodes have been very popular amongst our community, which is really, really wonderful. And I am still excited to provide that content to the folks who will be patrons of the show. And I'm really excited to publicly really focus on our interviews and spotlighting the amazing Black women in wellness and the incredible work that they do, and have that really be the focus of the show publicly. So if you are interested in being a patron for Balanced Black Girl Podcast, you can head to the link in our show notes. There you can sign up for the Patreon. There's different levels of support for the show, as well as different benefits. And access to the Feel Good Friday episodes moving forward will all be housed within there to thank you for your support if you choose to become a patron. All right, so the cat's out of the bag with that. Last week for our Feel Good Friday episode, we talked about fitness. We talked about getting your groove back like Stella after you've had some time away from the gym or away from working out, be it from getting busy, from having an injury, to just not feeling it. How to get back into it. And today I want to talk a little bit more about the opposite end of the spectrum, and that is when to take a rest and recovery. So you may not know this, but I actually spent about 6 years working as a personal trainer. My old blog, The Balanced Berry, had an arm of that brand that was a personal training business where I, over the years, trained hundreds of women through my online boot camps. And I also have worked quite a bit teaching live classes and working in gyms. And so my background is really in fitness. And back when I was actively training clients, something that I used to tell my clients all the time was no rest equals no results. So back in the day, really the mentality when it came to fitness was all no pain, no gain. It was all about what you could burn off, how hard you could push, go, go, go. And that's not necessarily the case. In fact, that is very rarely the case. Now, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to being stronger, when it comes to building endurance, yes, there's going to be some moments where you're doing things that are challenging. There's going to be some moments where you're doing things that are uncomfortable, that may be difficult for you to do. However, the most important part is your rest and recovery. Because essentially, if you don't give your body any time to rest and recover, you're really not going to make progress. You're not going to get stronger. Your endurance is not going to change. Like, it's really, the magic happens in the rest. And for me, several years ago, I had an experience where I was working out so much and I was pushing my body so hard and I had so little rest and recovery time that basically I was experiencing diminishing returns. So despite working out for multiple hours per day, yes, you heard that right, hours, I would never do that again. I was working out for multiple hours a day. I was counting calories and restricting my diet quite a bit. And I was actually really inflamed and quite a bit heavier. And that's not to say that health or fitness revolves around a certain number, but my body was not at its kind of natural set point. It was not in the place where I know when I'm being balanced and when I'm treating my body as I should, how my body should feel. And that's because I was experiencing diminishing returns. I was constantly going, I was pushing so hard, forcing myself to do so much that my body wasn't able to rest and recover. And I really wasn't able to see the progress from all of the work that I was putting in. So recovery should be a major part of your routine. Now, there isn't necessarily a set number of days that you should recover, because that's really going to depend on you. That's going to depend on your body. It's going to depend on your schedule. It's going to depend on what type of movement or training you are doing and how long it takes your body to recover from those movements. But it's also going to consider factors such as sleep and your stress level and your schedule. All of those things factor into your overall routine and how much rest and recovery you should get. So if you are currently in a space where you don't have much time or space to recover, maybe you are a new parent and so you're not able to get like solid sleep. Or maybe you just have a really hectic work schedule or a lot of demands on your time that are really interfering with your rest. Or maybe you're in a space that is very, very high stress. If you are in that type of space, then you should prioritize rest and recovery more so than really high intensity training. And that is because exercise puts stress on your body, especially for our women listening. Our bodies tend to be very sensitive to stress. So high intensity exercise specifically puts stress on your body. Now, that can be a good thing if you are able to recover, if you are able to get enough sleep, if you are able to take time off during the week, if you are able to stretch and work on mobility after the fact, then high intensity movement can be a really, really great thing, because when you are resting and recovering, that's actually when your body is able to repair. That is when your muscles are able to grow back stronger, and that is when you're actually going to see progress and results. However, if you are in a place where you're really, really stressed and you have a lot going on and you're not really able to recover, then you would be better off really focusing on maybe some of the lower intensity movement to get your body going, to keep your body moving, but those types of things that aren't going to add additional stress onto your plate. Because what's going to happen is if you are already experiencing physical stress or emotional stress and you just do a bunch of high intensity exercise on top of that, knowing that you don't have the space to really build in proper recovery, you're just piling stress on top of stress, and that can lead to a lot of different issues. So that's when you can start experiencing diminishing returns. That is when it could even impact things like your hormonal health. And you don't want those problems, right? I know I don't want those problems. I've had those problems and I don't want to go back to having those problems. So it's really, really important that you factor in your ability to recover and your stress levels into your routine. Now, again, how many days a week that looks like or what recovery looks like for you, I think you have to kind of learn how to listen to your body and feel that out. And if you're thinking, well, how do I know how to listen to my body, or what signs should I look for? I'm going to tell you. So essentially, when it comes to high intensity exercise specifically, or even something like heavy strength training, you want to be able to have the energy and the mobility and the ability to actually complete the movements safely. So you know that feeling probably of doing a difficult workout and just feeling really gassed after the fact. So that's why it's really important that you want to take time to recover, to kind of refill that tank. That's also why nutrition is so important as well, right? So after your tank has kind of been refilled, after your energy stores have been topped up, after your body has had a chance to heal and recover, that's when it's time to go back again. But if you are constantly feeling gassed, if you never kind of get your energy back, get your mobility back, kind of get that pep in your step back after high intensity exercise, then it might be a good time to take some extra time to recover. And if you are in a space where you are experiencing a lot of emotional stress or a lot of physical stress, or you just really can't get your sleep together, you're better off focusing on lower intensity movement and really focusing on getting your emotional state to a better place, and really focusing on stress reduction techniques, really focusing on improving your sleep if you can. Now, again, for new parents, that's really hard. If you have little ones that you're taking care of, you can't necessarily do a ton about that in terms of the hours, but what you can do is try to lower your stress in other ways, or really focus on low intensity movements such as walking, maybe some approved core work, approved low intensity movements, body weight movements to really keep your body moving, but to not put on a ton of additional stress. So to wrap that all up, it's really, really important to focus on rest and recovery, because progress comes from recovery. Recovery is when your body is able to grow back stronger. That is when your muscles are able to grow back stronger after being challenged from strength training. And if you are not able to fully recover, then you should probably consider scaling back your movement in general. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Again, moving forward, we will be posting our Feel Good Friday episodes within our Patreon community to the patrons who support the show. So to our patrons, I look forward to seeing you Friday for our next Feel Good Friday episode. And to all of our listeners, we will be back on Tuesday with another interview. Thank you so much for tuning in.